Welcome to the Alain Elkann interviews, an unprecedented window into the minds of some of the most well-known and respected figures of the last 25 years.
So we are here in Pad with Nina Yashar, who is the owner and the director, the life of Nilufar, a famous gallery that is a gallery in Via della Spiga in Milano. And in the same time, you open a new space called Nilufar Depot, which is a larger space, a little far from the center.
Exactly.
And especially this year, I have seen you had a large exhibition during the Salone del Mobile. But I also see that you keep on having exhibitions there of sculpture of several artists.
Yes.
So it's not only design, right?
This year was the first year that actually I selected an exhibition of art. I devoted the upper floor of the depot to an installation of three artists in sculpture. Jonathan Trait, a Japanese artist, and a Russian artist. So it was my first exhibition in art. Many years people they are asking me, why don't you present art exhibition? But I think that I prefer to stay in my own field, that is design, because I don't have enough knowledge to deal with paintings. So I prefer I love sculptures, so this could be my next step in art.
Nina, you are born in Iran from a Persian family,
Yes.
and your father moved to Milan
Yes.
in the early 60s, right? And he was a very famous carpet dealer, and he opened in Milan, and when you were 21, I guess, you decided to follow your father's steps. You had worked a bit with him, but then you opened your own business.
Yes.
Always in carpets at the beginning, right?
Exactly.
You have a story that
Yes.
you were in New York. Why did they move? Because of...
My father already had the vision that could have been happen some political issues. So he had this kind of feeling, and actually he moved in Europe 20 years before the revolution. So he had in his mind that Iran would have been...
you were Jewish or...
Yes,
You were
we are a Jewish family. Yes, we are a Jewish family. And when he moved in Italy, I did my study in Italy. And after the high school, I started to go to University in Venice, Storia dell'Arte Orientale. And I started to work with my father after high school. And actually, as you said, he had a warehouse of Oriental carpets, antique, contemporary, all over the Asian countries. So I started to work with him, and after 6 months I really realized that I didn't like his taste. I didn't like the carpet he was selling, so I told him my desire to open a gallery. He in a way challenged me, saying, okay, find the space. And I remember I found the gallery in Via Bigli, and it was 1979. It was, and it is, a very residential street. And so when I opened my gallery, he told me, okay, I am going to pay for you the rent for 1 year. After is your problem. And I opened my gallery choosing the nicest antique pieces that my father had in his stock. Because I needed something to open. And I started immediately to organize exhibition of pieces that nobody knew. So my first exhibition has been The Rose in the Carpet, and it was a collection of Bessarabian kilims with the thematic of realistic rose in the pattern inside every carpet. And nobody in that period, in the 80s, nobody knew the existing this kind of typology of carpets. I did something that people, they noticed me, even if I didn't have any experience. I started doing other exhibition, very selective, very elitarian. The next exhibition I did after that was the Gabé carpet, that they were tribal carpet that were realized in southwest Iran. And so I started doing a very unusual thing because my specific idea was I am so young and I am surrounded by incredible important carpet dealer as like Cittone, Eskenazi. They were behind the corner of my gallery. So I said, I can't compete with them. I have to find always new languages, new thematic. And so I started with my own vision in carpet and my own narrative. And after many years, I had the rental for 12 years. So when 12 years passed, I was obliged to leave my gallery in Via Bigli. And in the meantime, I was looking for the new gallery, and nobody knows that from Via Bigli and Via Spiga, I found a space in Via Manzoni where I started to collect furnitures Provençal of south of France. I don't know if you remember Ile-sur-Sorgue, Gavignone. It was the period where these countryside furnitures were very popular. So, and I opened this shop. In the meantime, I found Via Spiga. So when I found Via Spiga, my father helped me to pay the key money, luckily. And my real adventure started there, once I arrived in Via Spiga.
But in New York, you
Yes.
had an illumination, right?
Yes, and I was used to go to buy antique carpets in New York because they were the main market for antique. And one day I was in New York with my agent, and in the street in the 57th and 5th Avenue, I was looking the window of a very important carpet dealer. I saw carpet that I couldn't recognize the provenance. So I said, let's go and ask from where it comes. He didn't want because this carpet dealer was quite unpleasant. So after 3 times that we asked from where it comes, this carpet, we had the information, and he told me that was the provenance was Swedish. So after 2 months I went in Sweden. I found someone who was taking me around, and he took me in the most important gallery of antique carpets in Stockholm. When I arrived there, I was so excited, and after 4 hours I bought 21 carpets, Swedish carpet. Because you have to choose from the back, and I was asking, please open this, open that, so it took time.
What about furniture?
Exactly. So I had to stay there for 3 days. And the day after, there were no any more places of carpet. So I told to this guide, please take me somewhere at least. I have to see something else. He took me in a huge garage of 800 square meters, full of furnitures. And I started to ask some prices I didn't know anything about. And suddenly I said, wow, the prices are very affordable compared to the carpets. So I started to buy, I bought, I remember, 7, 8 furniture pieces, chairs, tables, without knowing what I was buying, because I didn't have any references and any knowledge about. So when I came back in Milano, I showed it to my intellectual friends. That period was Pierluigi Cerri, that was the graphic designer of my books. And he told me, these are Swedish mid-century furnitures, very important. So I was picked some Alvar Aalto piece, the Paimia Sanatori wardrobe, that it was something very, very strange, very minimal, and then other pieces of Hans Wegener, Bruno Mattsson. So I started to do my first exhibition with Swedish carpet and Scandinavian design. This was my starting point. And I started to learn to read books because I didn't have any knowledge about. And as I say, my fever started from there because I couldn't stop to buy. And was very interesting because for the 3 first years of my career in design, as I discovered design in Stockholm, my attention was concentrated in buying Scandinavian historical pieces. After 3-4 years, I started to buy international mid-century masters, furnitures, French, American, Italian. And after years and years, for sure, my focus has been concentrated in Italian mid-century design of the masters as Gio Ponti, the 50s, the Parisi, Albini. And now I am very specialized in that. And I like to investigate also nowadays the 70s, Gabriella Crespi, Tobias Scarpa, Bellini.
Let's go back for a moment to your life. In the meantime that you become a Milanese established gallery, you're still an Iranian woman, right? And at that moment the revolution had taken place. So how do you feel vis-à-vis Iran, vis-à-vis your country? You still speak Persian with your family, or?
I don't speak Farsi with my family because when we came in Italy, me and my sister, we wanted to adapt ourselves immediately to the Italian culture. But what is very peculiar in my life is this kind of genetic appartenenza, that it means that I have in my blood this kind of cosmopolitan vision, because Iranian people, they always have been very cosmopolitan, very curious, they always travel, they lived in different countries, so very open to different cultures. And this is the leitmotif of my career that really influenced all my choices. Because for me, an installation, the choices of pieces, is never connected to one single period or one single geographical area. What I really like is the contamination and the diversification, the interdisciplinarity between cultures. And actually, my story is very long and difficult. Actually, when I went in Tibet, in Nepal, it was roughly 28 years ago. I came back with a huge container full of Tibetan chest of drawers. When I went in Tokyo, I went back with screens and
When did you go to Tokyo?
to Tokyo I went 18 years ago. I went with Germano Celand for the Prada Foundation show of Mariko Mori. When I was there, I went around and I ended up in buying 18th century and 19th century screens with gold leaves in Tokyo. And some furnitures, the famous kitchen furnitures in wood and the lanterns. What I really enjoy is to buy and to know new situation. So that's why I said this is the leitmotif of my life.
Are you worried? Are you concerned about Iran, or you're not? Now you consider yourself Italian? And
I feel actually more Italian. I am very worried for my country because I think that culturally is very Iranian artists, Iranian young people, they are very advanced, culturally talking, even if they are obliged to not express very well themselves because of the regime. But I think is a country full of ideals, because nowadays there is a gap of ideals, I think, worldwide. It's not like the 60s where there were ideals. Now there is a lack. There is more an egoistic way to deal with everything. I really would love to go back. And the last thing I did in my career is 15 years ago I decided to enter in the challenge of contemporary design. And so my first experience was the discovery 14 years ago of Martino Gamper. I discovered in a very strange way because I was talking with Ron Arad and I asked him, what are you going to show for the next Salone del Mobile? It was 14 years ago. And he didn't answer me, and he immediately told me, I would like you to know one of my students. He said, okay. So I went back at home. I went in internet to see the work of Martino, and I fell in love immediately. So I took a flight. I went in London. And he was living in his studio. It was really very, very at the beginning of his career. And suddenly something happened because I asked him, what did you do? What are you doing now? What did you do till now? And he said, I am working on a major project that is the 100 chairs in 100 days. And why was it an incredible project? Because it was the pioneer of a project realized and manufactured with recycled material. He was finding pieces in the street and he collected them, and he, without any preliminary design, without any, very instinctively I would say, he did these 100 chairs. So I bought them immediately, and this major work of art went around already 14 museums in the world. And this was a sort a side that I really loved, this major work, but it was also a way to be mecenate, because I defended these chairs, these 100 chairs, till now, and I never sold, even if I had many customers. They wanted 10 chairs, 5 chairs, 3 chairs. I always kept all this body of work all together, exactly. Also in Asia we showed once in Tokyo, and now I have in my mind to explore more China, Korea, to show them in this kind.
Who did you show at PAD in London, and you will show in Los Angeles?
Here in this edition of PAD London, I started the concept of my installation of my booth with the Michael Anastasiades ceiling lamp, because everybody asked me, how do you interpret your interiors? It's so difficult to explain how. I start with one piece, and after the second choice has been the carpet on the wall that was designed by artists Langland and Bell. They represented in this carpet, manufactured with needlepoint, the building of Oscar Niemeyer. So I really loved aesthetically and conceptually this work. So after I followed with pieces that in order to get an harmony with other pieces that they had inside black, and they played with gold. So black with these 2 chests of drawers of Adnet of the 50s with the brass handles and brass structures and black leather, and then with a very rare dining table of Kagan, divided in 3 pieces, very rare, in a black structure and glass. And one of the most stunning pieces of Gabriella Crespi that we have never seen it before, the mirror in brass that has the shape of a mosque in a way. And after I put in conversation these pieces with Brazilian mid-century masters as Joaquim Terreiro and Italian mid-century masters as Parisi, and of Terreiro also this amazing table that we are working on, very rare, let's say Terreiro masterpiece, Terreiro masters. And then I put in conversation these pieces with contemporary design, an amazing screen of Osanna Visconti di Modrone in bronze, all realized with lost wax as the ancient sculptures, and also a floor lamp of her with bamboo legs, but the bamboo is the real bamboo that she took on her garden, and in order to realize one, she has to lose at least 10 because the bronze breaks. And another contemporary, one of my most important contemporary designers is also Laura Bethanwood. I discovered her in Milano, I remember in Lambrate, 10 years ago, because she was showing her graduation work, and I saw immediately these 4 incredible tables, very little, with 4 different heights, and they were manufactured with laser cut for mica and all assembled with her hands. So I said, this is really, really revolutionary and incredible, because was the comparison of the 18th century marquetry furnitures, but with a completely new material, the formica. So I was very aware that it was too early her language to be understood from people. So I was sure that I would not have commercial success. And I was sure after 8 years, I told her since the beginning, because she was only 24, I said, listen, you will be disappointed in terms of selling because your language is too avant-garde for people. Actually, now we are selling her very well. But for years and years, I really suffered.
All these artists, all these designers will be with you in LA when you go to LA?
Martino Gamper, sure. Laura Bethanwood, sure. So the main installation in the center of this 500 square meter space in LA, I commissioned to Martino a dining table for 26 people. And also, 8 years ago, I commissioned him some carpets. So I will have one incredible carpet made in Nepal from my suppliers that represent the floor plan of an apartment of 16 square meters. And then for sure I have some custom pieces of Laura Bethanwood, a chandelier and coffee tables. And as usual, my love for contamination, I will show works of Italian mid-century masters and Brazilian mid-century pieces, and other project of contemporary designers as Federico Peri, another amazing project of Massimiliano Locatelli, super huge dining table, all enamel.
Milano today is not the Milano when you started, right?
No.
But not only because of politics, because of Olympic, but also as a design capital in the world, right? Somehow. So first of all, I would like to know how this happened, that you found yourself by chance in the middle of that kind of revolution. And then nowadays, pieces, you were quoting Joe Ponti, but there are many others, Molina or French, Prouvé, and so on and so forth, are costing an enormous amount of money. They cost like artworks. Until 20 years ago, when you started, people would buy mainly French and Louis XVI, Louis XV furniture, or Retour d'Égypte, or Empire. And then you had the Bauhaus. Nowadays, people don't want anymore this kind of antique furniture. They spend a fortune on these pieces, right? Is this a fashion? Is it going to last for long? When one buys a piece of, let's say, Joe Ponti for a lot of money, is it fashion? Is it going to last? What do you think? Are you going to convert yourself into antique furniture next? All this has a lot to do also with the decoration. Architects, famous interior decorators, they changed. When I was a child, there were in Paris, person like Janssen, or all these kind of old masters in a way, and today there are others, from Peter Marino to, who knows, Romualdez or whatever else. So what has changed and how it will change? I mean, if I buy one of your pieces today, will I put them in storage in 20 years' time, or you know what I mean? Because this is not modern, not completely modern. It's vintage, which is similar to antique, right? You know?
Now it's getting similar to antique in a few decades, yes, absolutely. So Milano passed a long period of oscurantismo, of death, till 6 years ago. Milan was really...
Of silence.
Exactly. So very pity, because Milan has been in the 50s, in the 60s, in any case, was the capital of historical design. We had a really incredible, glorious period. After, Milan had a very dead period after the 80s, and suddenly everybody says this, but in a way it's true. After the Expo, Milan started to be more concentrated on coming back to develop culturally all the focus of the city, socially, many cultural events. Now Milano is in a very glorious moment. We have We have many American people, English people, French people, that they are buying houses. The real estate is growing up. Finally is becoming a bit internationally, because I always loved the fact that Milan was also a little bit provincial. Now it's a focus for investors, for everybody wants to show something in Milano. We know that Salone del Mobile is getting much more important than fashion in Milano now. So every year there is a concentration of foreigner industry, foreigner designers, artists. Everybody wants to show something in Milano. It's getting also too much. So, and luckily I opened my huge space of 1,500 square meters. It was a coincidence that I opened it when Milano started to be a real hub. So Milan needs contents constantly now. Every year is a huger challenge because you have to show interesting contents, as like the amazing show that I did of Lina Bobardi last year, because I collect for 4 years the work of this incredible Italian, Brazilian naturalized.
People come to Milan from all over the world for design. But in design, as you said, from Albini to Gio Ponti and so on. But, there are, the French are very strong too, right?
Ooh, much more stronger than us.
So why is Milano so important? Isn't it Paris or isn't it...
No. We can't compare Milano to Paris. We can compare the French design, the French historical design with Italian historical design. This, yes. But I wouldn't compare Paris with Milano. The French dealers, they always had a big sense of nationalism. So they really defended altogether the French historical design. The main names, Charlotte Perriand, Jean Prouvé, Jouve, and they created the biggest market in the world, much more stronger than Italian design, because they are the best dealers in the world in creating an icon, the icon of French design. And they are the only one that for 25 years they are presenting the same pieces, and they created the desire. It's as like, sorry the comparison, but it's as like to sell a label of fashion. They are specialized in creating important desire. So what does it mean this? That people from everywhere, the biggest art collector in the world, every of these collectors, they want a piece of Royer, Jeanneret, Prouvé, Charlotte Perriand, because it's a status. Unfortunately, Italy is not has never been able to build such unity in design, because culturally Italy doesn't exist this sort of unity. In Italy there is this way to go one against the other, and this is against the strengthness of
If it is like this, why Milano is so important?
because Milano is very important for the diversity of the artisans, is important for the architects. Italy is much more creative than France. Coming back to the question of the design, so why Italian historical design didn't come up so important as the French historical design? First of all, we have an incredible diversity of designers. The designers during the years, they changed their narrative. Only talking about Gio Ponti, from the 30s to the 60s, he changed many times his language, his narrative, his aesthetic. So Italy is the genius of the creation.
Italians are much more elastic.
Yes, it's always ready to a changement culturally.
But do you think that this kind of furniture, even the French, even the Buffet, the Perignon, whatever it is a fashion of today, and then people will go back to Boulle, to Louis XVI, to whatever, or that's the way it is, and they will be historicizzati, and then it will be, like a period.
No, I don't think it's absolutely. I don't think the 50s and the 60s they are a fashion. I absolutely think they are not, because what happened? People after the 16th century, 17th century, 18th century, the desire of changement it's something very human, but it's not a changement in terms of fashion, because we are talking about masters. So today, a piece of Gio Ponti that internationally, it depends, there is Gio Ponti and Gio Ponti, but there are rare pieces of Gio Ponti, let's say La Casa Fantasia that has been sold at Philips months ago in June, has been sold for a big quantity of money, for sure. Why not compared to art? Why it has to cost...
It is like contemporary art.
For sure. Important
For
design.
instance, a personal question. You have bought for your dining room Molina chairs that belong to a nightclub that he had designed for a nightclub in Torino.
Yes.
And when did you buy this chair?
These chairs, I bought them 16 years ago, and I love them, and I will never
Sell them.
No.
But obviously they're worth immensely more now, right?
Ooh, a lot. Now the value is 4 times more.
Yeah, you are right. This is a bit the story of Van Gogh, who never sells a painting and then it becomes millions. Molina was very unknown during his life, in leading a strange life in Torino, and then he became an icon. And you think that your chairs will remain? I mean, something very precious.
Yes. I don't want to be a little bit critic, but I will say what I think. French mid-century design produced a lot of the same pieces because they were part of community buildings. Okay, but it's 25 years we are seeing there are so many pieces. I don't think they are fake, but there are many. Italy really produced less. Aside the serial pieces.
So you believe that some pieces will remain precious. And what is similar to art, maybe, is that as much as, for instance, the futurist artists, and also, let's say, artists like Duri and Fontana, have been punished by the idea of fascism, by the time of fascism. Same happened to Gio Ponti, I mean, it took time before the Italian art, the Italian architecture. We have seen at Prada maquettes of architecture, all these extraordinary architects were punished because of fascism, right? And then nowadays the art has prevailed. To collect Boccioni, Severini, Medardo Rossi or Balla was not kosher, let's say, right? Then nowadays it became, you're also, in other words, Italy has been punished by politics vis-à-vis France, right? What is your future discovery going to be? What are you looking for? You said you're looking for Asia, right?
I am looking to do exhibitions, pop-ups, presentation in Asia, yes.
That presentation of Italian designers there, or you want to import to Italy Chinese and Japanese and all
Yeah,
this?
who knows?
You don't know.
I like everything. I like up and down.
So after LA, the world is open to Asia. But Milano remains Milano.
Milano remains absolutely Milano now.
What are you planning for the next Salone del Mobile?
Yes, it's still a secret, but I am planning to go back. This anxious of this globalization, what's next? I think sometimes you lose contents and you forget you did perhaps amazing things that you forgot. You don't focus anymore your attention on. So what I really want to do is a little bit to go back in showing important pieces, historical important unique pieces, for example, that I did a collection in these last 4 years. I invested a lot of money in this. And going back to my first designers, they perhaps why not to show the 100 chairs in my
So you're
depot.
becoming French.
Yes, I would like, exactly. We have a lot to learn from them.
You're not madly running after new things, but you're in this next.
I will do at the end because I have 2,000 square meters to play with.
Because
So,
you're very curious.
yeah, this I can't stop to be.
Are you very curious? Is curiosity what has moved your life?
For sure. I get annoyed immediately of what I do. This is my real problem. So the annoy, new adventures.
I think it was Baudelaire who said this sentence, which concludes our interview. He said, "Au fond de l'inconnu, cherchez du nouveau." At the end of the unknown, look for something new.
Exactly.
Voilà. Thank you very
Voilà.
much.
Thank you.
Alain Elkann interviews.